JoJo's the Game, or better known as Persona 5, has made a huge impact on me personally, and many others. It is a very interesting game, and with the release of Persona 5 Royale, it brought the game back into our thoughts, and made many of the old fans like myself return, along with newcomers to the game. This video is not about Royale. It is not about everything new that came with Persona 5 Royale. This video is about Persona 5, its story, its characters, and why I grew to love this game. And let us start, well, from the beginning. We begin the game as Joker, our main character, and we seem to have stolen something from this place we're in. As we begin to make our escape, we run into guards, and then holy shit! We see the guards turn into these creatures. Not only that, we have a stand! And we use our stand, or our persona, I guess you would call it, to fight these creatures. And after handily defeating these opponents, we make our dashing, daring, magnificent escape. Well, shit.
Suspect secure.
From here we are detained, and we go through this, man, what's it called again? An ass beating? Oh, no, right, an interrogation. After the tough boys were done with our interrogation, we are then introduced to the lovely Sai Nijima. Sai notices that we were roughed up by the interrogators before her, and we were injected with some sort of drug. The drug seems to have given us a bit of amnesia. Well, it probably wasn't only the drug. But Sai is a public prosecutor, and she is there to hear our side of the story from the beginning. We then see this butterfly telling us that we need to remember. From here we transition back to the past. Our character is remembering all of the things that happened before he got caught. And these actions of the past, or flashbacks, are actually where we get to play through the story to get to the present. The introduction of this game gives us quite a bit of mystery. Mysteries like, what are these creatures we are fighting? Why were we arrested? Why is there a talking butterfly? And who exactly are we and the other characters that were talking to us? We begin the game being wrongly accused of assaulting someone. We didn't get to see too much about this part, but from what we can gather, the man who is being a nuisance used his sway and his power to throw an assault case on us, giving us a criminal record. And from what we can see, there is nothing inherently abnormal about our character or the world, unlike what we saw in the introduction. Well, that is until the moment we are making our way to our new lovely home. Our new home just happens to be a stuffy attic, but who are we to complain? While we are on our way to our new home, we look at our phone and notice a strange app. Suddenly, everything around us freezes. We seem to be the only person who isn't frozen in time. We look up and across the street, and we see this figure. And after a few moments, time continues on, with no sign of the ominous figure, and no one else around seems to have saw it. Well, after that strange incident, we make our way home. After getting moved in, we soon enroll ourselves to Shujin Academy. And like the good little student we are, we try our very best to make it to school on time, and we run into quite a few colorful characters. And one of these colorful characters is Ryuji, and he mentions Kamoshida might be a bit of a dick. Ryuji then begins to lead us to the school. When we arrive to where we think the school should be, instead there's a castle in its place. From here, we stumble in and out of our cell, we find a cat,
I am not a cat!
fight some castle creatures, and make our grand escape. And the further we progress in the story, the more we learn about infiltrating palaces. We learn that palaces are a physical manifestation of distorted desires. And from what we saw in Kamoshida's palace, we see his true nature. We see how he views the students, and how he views himself in this narcissistic, kingly role. And we see that he is turning everyone's lives around him into a living hell, while he just soaks in glory and status. Mona informs us that there is a way we can use his palace against him, by going in and stealing his distorted desires. And in the process, this forces him to grow a conscience and confess his crimes. After learning this and the consequences for doing this, Ryuji, An, Mona, and our character, Joker, all find the resolve to punish Kamoshida for everything that he's done, to not only themselves, but to other students. As we progress through this first arc, we see what Kamoshida has done to Ryuji and Lady An, and what he's doing to other students. And we see that this game covers some pretty serious topics. I mean, this starting arc alone covers things like abuse, suicide, sexual assault, and it never really shies away from anything, and I like that about this game. I explain this first arc because it does an amazing job in setting up what is to come for the rest of the game. And mind you, this is a long beginning to the game. This first arc goes on for a while, and there's a lot we learn along the way. Not only in the palace, but with exploring the cities and those fucking tests. And as we travel through this long beginning arc to the game, we are given more mystery to keep us satiated, to keep us coming back. Things like the Velvet Room, Igor, the mention of Ruin, and even Mona himself. We see these secret phone call meetings from these seemingly high in power people talking about something that we don't have very much information for. But we can clearly see that something bigger is afoot. Not only that, we know we are working to get to the present. You know, we're still locked into a cell. It's easy to lose that along the way. But these things aren't the only things that I like about the story and the gameplay in itself. Another part of the story that I think is absolutely incredible that this game does well is its pacing and how it introduces characters to us. Every character we meet and interact with is organically introduced to us through the story, throughout the game, when we need them mostly. And I never felt like any character was being forced down my throat. And all of our main cast that we interact with, that we see through most of this story, always experience this sort of development as we go through the story. And the development of these characters isn't too rushed or anything. Since this is a long game, they have a lot of time to introduce us to characters and to build upon these characters. This game also doesn't go out of its way to make us interact with anything in the world that we explore. There are a number of things that we can do with our days aside from patrolling palaces. In the explorable city, there are many shops, activities, hangout spots to discover. And if we do these various activities or go to these hangout spots, this introduces us to a mechanic that we see throughout basically the beginning of the game to the end. This game has a time limit. Most of the things you can interact with in the game, whether it be in the city or the characters themselves, this uses some of your time. And there's always this little tiny little thing, this little reminder to us to help us remember that there is a time limit to this game. I don't know, you might not have seen it. It's pretty small, pretty easy to miss. It's not like it's on every loading screen or anything. Take your time is an incredible piece of advice for this game. This game has constant forward progression. No matter what you do, you will always be propelled forward through this game. Whether you explore the metaverse, spend time studying, hang out with your confidants, all of these uses time and will progress the game forward. But as I mentioned again, this is a very long game. You have time to do as much as you want. Or at least you think you will. Whenever I first played Persona 5, I didn't understand the time commitment I would be putting into this game. I didn't understand that it would be over 100 hours of gameplay. But as I got through it, I was like, oh, well, this obviously will just go on forever, right? I'll have plenty of time to max out all my confidants. I'll have time to max out all my stats. I'll be able to explore anything and everything that I want. But before I knew it, I was at the end of the game. So keep in the back of your mind that this game has a time limit, but don't let it stress you out. Look around, enjoy the game, try maximizing every single bit of time that you have, because before you know it, you won't have any more time anymore. You'll just be at the end of the game. And as I was playing through this game, I realized that the game itself, it's not about where the story ends. It's about the journey through the story. This game in itself, it's a very long game. I learned pretty quickly that what I was going to truly enjoy about this game wasn't going to be the payoff at the end. Like, how does the game end? How do we beat this ruin? What made me keep playing this game and what made me truly fall in love with this game was the characters. And I will talk more about these characters in part 2. I do hope you enjoyed.